though, even though I'm feeling great, I know who didn't feel great last night was probably Cody Garbrandt in the UFC fight night.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, let's call a spade a spade. He fought Rob Font last night. It didn't go his way.
Yeah.
I can say that.
To be very polite about it.
Yeah.
Before we jump too far ahead in terms of how the fight went, what did you guys think of the fight?
So when I watched it, me and Lyle were talking about it kind of, throughout the fight, and definitely afterwards we gave our thoughts to each other. But it's like essentially it's the way I looked at it is that he went in there and got dominated and, kind of just got, lit up for about 5 rounds. And there was a point in time where Cody was doing, decently well on the ground, is what I'll say. One thing that Lau had pointed out was like his the way he was wrestling, it might have tired him out, which I mean could have had an effect on the rest of the fight. But I mean, he just looked to essentially get beat up for, the next 3 rounds. And it's like, shouts out to him because he didn't look so bad, prior to that. But me personally, I just think that, he did not look that great last night. So it just didn't go in his favor.
I also agree that he didn't look that great. What I will say is here's where the positive starts. His chin held up. Usually when he's getting hit quite a bit, he's getting pretty knocked out. Also, that first round and the fifth round, he did show signs of trying to compete, trying to win the fight. I think he got 50-45. I'm not upset if somebody comments, I think it's 49-46. I very, very disagree with the judge that gave it to Rob Font 48-47. I think that Rob Font, his striking was on point. He was utilizing his reach and his jab very well. And he wasn't even looking for any knockout shot or any knockout blow. It was kind of like he was taking his time, peppering him with the jab. He'll throw it straight, 1-2, boom, boom, boom. I like how when he got taken down the third time, he used the Kimura to kind of threaten Cody to get off of him. And so this way he could either do a sweep or just get up off the ground. So, and then he was stuffing takedowns. So Rob Hunt, he really had a good world-class performance in this fight. And I think that he's about one fight away from a title shot. I think he looked good. For Cody Garbrandt, however, shouts out to him. He is a former champion. He did beat Dominic Cruz, but he's at the back of the line for bantamweight now. He should drop down to 125 if he wants to see a title fight pretty soon. But if he does want to cut the weight, then hopefully he knows that he's going to have to fight, 3 to 4 times before he was sniffing the title, because there's quite a few guys in front of him now.
I think at 125, he actually would have a decent run to be like a contender quickly too. Like, it's not like there is competition at 125, don't get me wrong, but I think Cody Garbrandt can go down there, possibly knock somebody out and be like in the title picture, because he does still have that in him. You can see it, especially early in the fight. He didn't look slow.
No.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I think he would have a better chance at 125 just overall. Like, I mean, I think when it comes to after seeing the fight, after his performance last night, and as we all saw, he did have some issues, and Rob Font was sticking him with the jab as well as not rushing himself to try to go for a knockout, go for the kill. And we saw how even in round 5, where Cody was actually taking advice from his corner, trying to go first when it came to the point of attack, which was helping him somewhat, but he was still getting caught. So I think, like Lau said, I think this does push him to the back within bantamweight, and I think going to 125, similar to what Nigel even said, there is competition there, but we all know this when it comes to sports, especially when it comes to like someone that's been at the championship level. Like, it's not guaranteed that you're going to have an easy run at a lower weight class, but it gives you a little bit more. It can give you an advantage. It can give you an advantage if your skill set is still up there and you're able to still make the weight, because I think the weight cut is going to be the biggest issue for him. So
supposedly, it said that he doesn't have too hard of a time getting down to 125, though. I'm not sure exactly as to how that'll go for him.
if he doesn't have a hard time going down there, then it. I mean, because I don't even think he probably doesn't really have to cut that much then right now, and he's still pretty young though, right? I think he's what, like maybe in his
28, I think 28,
28.
Oh yeah,
29.
he could
Yeah.
at least
He's
like
a-
go down there
he's-
and try it out.
Yeah, he's our age, so he is not. Youth is still on his side.
Yeah, so like he definitely has a shot because I think that was around the same age when Connor was jumping down to like 145 and like pretty much depleting his whole body just to cut weight. So at that young of an age, being a champion before, he knows what it's like to compete at the championship level. It's just cutting that weight and possibly even cutting that weight may make him a stronger fighter within the ring, to be honest with you. Just because it's less weight on him and he'll probably hopefully he's if it's not an issue cutting the weight, it should help him with still carrying the power that he has because and we all know Cody, like when Cody is able to be on all cylinders, he's not just someone you can just toy around with to some extent. So, but I do also remember Michael Bisping during the fight, like he was saying how Cody Garbrandt did have like he did have a case of COVID, had vertigo, pneumonia, and all of these other things. So, not saying those are excuses, but I think he more than likely Cody after this fight, like even Cody said after the fight, he had to deal with a lot of himself and within that fight. So hopefully he figures out what the recipe is for him. Maybe take some time to try to get his mind clear, figure out on the weight cut, and probably go from there. I think.
So this is my bad, Nigel, but this is where the realness has to come in. You know, this is when the
Yes.
professionalism has to go out the window a little bit. Cody Garbrandt must have been confident enough, and he
Yes.
probably thought, hey, I have the tools and skills to beat this guy, to sign on the dotted line. And then when you lose, now all of a sudden it's, oh, well, I'm dealing with this. I was dealing with that. Like you're taking away from Rafa's performance, right? It wasn't like Cody blew his ACL during training camp and then all of a sudden he went into the fight still. Then that's a legitimate excuse. But the whole COVID and all that, I feel like if you felt like that was really a factor in his fight, then why are you fighting?
Well, this is what Michael Bisping was
No,
saying.
no. I
get what you're saying.
Yeah, and I feel like that's bad excuses. That's not fair. Look at Hamzat Shemaev. He apparently got stricken with COVID pretty bad, or to the point where he prematurely retired before he, reversed his thoughts. If it's like that, then maybe take some more time before you fight. Don't sign on the dotted line. Be very, coming out saying like, hey, I think I'm going to have a much better performance than I did against Dominic Cruz. Because that's what he said, to turn around and be like, oh, wow, I was dealing with a lot. Like, I'm pretty sure he was dealing with a lot. I'm pretty sure Rob Font was dealing with a lot. Everybody deals with a lot in training camp. So you're taking away from Rob Font's performance when you're saying, hey, I'm still feeling the effects of COVID. Like, that's not Rob's fault. He went in there thinking he's fighting the best version of Cody. He didn't go in there thinking like, oh, I'm fighting 50% Cody Garbrandt. And I give Rafa 100% credit for the performance he put on. And I'm not trying to say Cody is coming out with excuses, but if for anybody that's giving him excuses, they should stop. They should stop. But moving on for the fight night, in the co-main event, Carla Esparza, she dominated this young lady. Unfortunately, I'm not really familiar with this young lady because they didn't start really giving her any name recognition until last night. Saturday night, excuse me. So Carlos Esparza is next for Thug Rose. Point blank period. Good job for finishing this young lady. But it's Thug Rose versus Carlos Esparza too now. Did you guys see that?
Well, did they already announce it?
No, but that's the right fight. That's the right fight to make.
Oh no, like I agree with you. I think that you had called it a couple weeks ago saying that Carla Esparza was the one, but after seeing that performance, like I was just like, oh okay, like she's like really the one to go. So it's like I'm not mad at that matchup. I think it could be interesting. I personally still think she's gonna lose. You know what I mean? And there's nothing against like Carla Esparza, but I just think that fight is gonna be a showcase fight for Thug Rose. You know what I mean? Because I just think they're stylistically, I just think she can, put it on her in comparison to their first fight years ago.
Right. Like I didn't have a chance to I didn't catch that fight last night, but I can say this based off like previous conversations we had and even taken from what you guys have said and seeing some highlights. I do believe that Carla Esparza would be the best match for Rose going forward. I mean, I'll put it like this. I will say because Esparza was the one that beat Rose the last time, so
Yeah.
it's granted there's things change with seasons and fighters get better and they sharpen up their skill set. So I'm not going to jump out the window and just say that Rose will be able to beat her now just easily. Definitely when they fought for the belt last time and Rose lost. So, but I do think that would be a good matchup to see. I definitely can say that, and I'll definitely have to check out the girl that Sparza fought, being that now that they're trying to push her, especially. So